More generations are growing up without knowing how to do things like write thank you notes or even sew. Not this guy. Christine is hanging out with a local entrepreneur who's showing us how he makes his own bow ties.
And the next part is you actually sew these pieces together.
Correct.
But you kind of have your fabric, what, inside out? Because eventually you're going to turn it right side in?
Correct. I want the side that's going to be on the outside. I face those two together. Because the next step, once this is sewn, is cutting the excess fabric and turning it inside out.
Okay, let's see how it works. How long did it take you to learn how to sew, or were you sewing before you even did this?
This was actually my first time really sewing. When I first started, I didn't know how to use a sewing machine, so I took a couple of classes to kind of learn. And eventually, the more practice I had, the better I got at it.
What is the hardest part about sewing?
I would say keeping everything straight, keeping your line straight, and making sure that you don't miss stitches.
How do you know how far in you want to put the stitch?
Well, I line it up with the outside of the foot here.
Okay. How long does it usually take you to do a bow tie?
I would say start to finish. I make them in bulk now, so I don't really know exactly how long it would take me. But if I have to guess, I would say about 30 to 35 minutes.
Oh, so not horrible.
Correct. And this is the end result.
Awesome. And then you, as you mentioned, you take some scissors and you cut it out.
Correct. I kind of cut in between the stitching and the lining here. And ultimately, this is the next step. And then at that point, I turn it inside out.
So it doesn't really have to be perfect because you're going to turn it inside out, right?
Correct.
Okay, so we're going to turn a couple of these out, and then there's still another step. This one I feel like I can definitely do. Maybe I'll help out.